Hello.
Hello, Dr. Sasa. So good to talk to you today. Thank you so much for
Uh,
being able to share.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Well, we really appreciate it. I know it's obviously a very heavy and chaotic time to have this conversation, but we're grateful to get to hear. So it has been about 2 weeks now since the earthquake hit Myanmar on March 28th, 7.7 magnitude. Can you tell us what the mood is like in Myanmar now?
Yeah, firstly, of the people of Burma is filled with sadness and sorrow and shock and desperate pain and suffering, deaths and destructions. Um, they are just indescribable and unspeakable loss and pain and suffering. It's on top of one misery after another. And this is one tragedy after another. And the last 4 years, the people of Burma have suffered from COVID, and then the military coup, and then Cyclone Mocha, and then Typhoid Yagi, and this earthquake, which is dreadful and devastating. And it's beyond of descriptions. We are talking about 10 million people suddenly become homeless, suddenly see themselves lost their house, lost their mother, their father, lost their brothers, their sisters, their uncles, their aunties, and then there's no help enough coming to them because the military have already destroyed the life of the people of Burma for the last 4 years, and just they have nothing, and it is beyond what words can speak. It's unspeakable. It is indescribable. Yeah, it's filled with that sorrow, sad, and aspirations, and pain and the suffering.
Yeah, and so you talked about kind of sorrow after sorrow and suffering after suffering. What are those factors that are compounding the crisis that people are experiencing right now? You mentioned 2021, and what kind of has happened since then to make this so devastating to the people of Myanmar?
Um, the people of Burma go to elections in 2020 and they chose their leader. And the military saw that they have lost their proxy political party in elections and they cannot take it. And they stage the coup, um, start to kill the people. Basically come and after the people whom they should be protecting, and the protector become the killer. And they stolen the elections, and they start using battlefield weapons against the people of Burma. In the last 4 years, we are talking about killing of more than 6,000 unarmed civilians. The last 4 years, we talk about more than 100,000 houses, churches, hospitals, schools being destroyed by bomb from Russia and China support to the military. And we are talking about 25 more than 25,000 being detained unjustly till today. Many of them, thousands of them. We're talking about more than 20 million people need life-saving assistance. And on top of that, this earthquake happened, and now we are talking about more than 30 million people in the last 4 years. Um, um, became, you know, I don't know how to describe their situation. There's no words I can find that describe the situations one after another, and that they have destroyed economy, they have destroyed the houses, hospital, including churches. There's nothing really left. There's nothing really left. And the remaining buildings and structures are now destroyed by this earthquake. And we are talking about still about 700 plus people missing. That means their remains are under the acts of destructions of this earthquake. On top of that, after the earthquake happened, there's at least 20 times that the military used jet fighter and attack the people of Burma for no reason, just to grab on power. And today we are talking about they killed a pastor in Chin State by the air bomb and his whole family wiped out by the military airstrike. That happened this morning. And we are talking about yesterday, they attacked Kachin State. They killed 20 people, including 6 children. So that is the devil that we are facing on top of this crisis. This is a man-made crisis and it's nature disaster crisis. My people are facing double crisis.
So you're talking about these attacks continuing after the earthquake. Can you tell us a little bit more about what it was like before the earthquake? So in this Buddhist majority nation, what does it look like for Christians and also for other religious minorities to be living in this kind of persecution? How does that play out?
If you are Christians and in Burma, where the military using Buddhism nationalism and that using Buddhists as weapons to weaponize and persecute non-Buddhist people. If you are Christians, then there's a kind of the red line that you cannot cross. Example, if you are in the Burma army, if you are Christians, you can never be that red line. You can never be a general and Christians, right? You can never be high-ranking officer in their military dictatorship, authoritarian regime if you are Christian. So there's a level that you cannot cross. And they also came to several villages across the country where the Christians are mostly populated, the rural area. Even there's no hospital, no doctor, no nurses, and no teachers, no schools, but you find the military there with weapons or battlefield weapons just stay in that village just to intimidate the Christians, just to force labor them, rape them, torture them, kill them, steal their livestock. That is the life that they have made for the Christians in the several decades. I'm not talking about just 4 years of thing. It has been, I'm talking about 40 years of reign of terror. Yeah, I'm talking about maybe 50 years of reign of terror against the Christians or religious minority. And then I came from religious, Christians background, and all those villages, there's no even school teacher, there's no even nurses, there's no even doctor, and they will just you have like hundreds of Burma army in that village and doing nothing but you know every day targeting who who street labors against them. Um, there's no way that you survive, and they want all of them to surrender to them. And then again, it is almost like a genocidal attack, a systematic genocidal attack against the religious minority in the country, so that they also consider that like for Burma, meaning that they say it is a foreign religion. So there's no sense of religious freedom. There's no sense of freedom to worship, and they have targeted particularly religious leader. Even now till today, they target the religious leader. And we are talking about the last 4 years of destructions of more than 300 churches or places of worship being destroyed by the bomb, right? Mainly for the jet fighters or the ground or burning to the ground. So it's beyond of what we can describe. It's like, there's no even communication those days. There's no telephone, there's no TV, there's no newspaper, and the Christians are just the voiceless people there. And if they rape your sister, where do you talk about it? There's no mechanism that you can talk about it. If they kill your brother or your sister, there's no mechanism to talk about that. Only way is you talk about that into your perpetrators. That means that the perpetrators is a part of that perpetrator who do that. Meaning that the repercussion may be even more painful if you complain about that.
And so with this targeting, there's the attacks that are happening specifically on Christian groups and Christian buildings and other religious minorities. What is the registration process like in Myanmar? How is this codified to where the regime is then attacking with such precision and intent?
Just imagine your president is military general. Imagine your defense minister is military general. Home Affairs Minister is military general, and Border Affairs Minister, all of them 100% military generals, right? Who use Buddhism, which is a peaceful religion, but as weapons to weaponize against minority. And so they also set up a ministry called Ministry of Religious Affairs. I never see any other country have that kind of Ministry of Religious Affairs. Meaning that the ministry particularly will be run by a military general always, and who will run systematically how to not give permission to the church building, and many of the church are not registered. Right? They have no any certificates or documents that says this church belongs to this group of villagers or this church belongs to these people, and it's all maybe you can say that it is not legal in that sense, right? And they make all those to be illegal in that sense. So it is very difficult to describe how the system they have made it very systematic, that they even set up a ministry called religious affair ministry when like example, okay, education ministry, health, ministry of health, ministry of education, ministry of economics and business, all those are the service provider, and then what the ministry of religious affair will deliver any service, because that ministry itself will be always run by Buddhist and military general. That means that it cannot be, it does not protect any other minorities in the country. It states that is particularly set up to persecute and to cause the maximum pain on the people who are not sharing their religions, like Christians or Muslims or Hinduism or other minority groups. So that means that they became somehow, systematically targeted because they are not included in that mainstream ministry of religious affairs. So it is quite a kind of like sophisticated, but at the same time systematic, and they have got agenda, they have got a target, they have got a policy.
And is it correct that even Buddhist groups that do not submit to the state authority are also even shut down and prevented from carrying out their practice? Is that right?
It is like there was always this Burma army generals. Like, I'm not talking about Buddhism, but talking about the military generals. That's totally different from the Buddhism and the military. So if you are not following the military instructions on how and where and also again these military generals are very kind of superstitious people, and they use a lot of astrologers, a lot of superstitious things. And then example, kind of like white elephants have this, and this kind of, they run the country in fear, right? They run the country in terror. So anybody who opposes them, their agenda and policy is to maximize the terror so that Buddhists or religious Christians or Muslim, anybody who do not submissive to them, they will have to receive the terror so that there's a maximum nightmare is being instigated into that particular group of people. And then, it's a kind of giving the maximum fear into the heart of the human being so that they have nightmare every day, or fearing of the terror will come if they don't obey them, right? And so in another word, it is a kind of a reign of terror. That's how I can describe as close as possible of how they have run Burma in that kind of level. Many ways these are also proclaimed that they are Buddhism, meaning like the military generals, and that they killed the Buddhist monk. An example: how can you kill your own monk, reverend, if you are practicing, Buddhism, which is peaceful religious? Like, I have got many really, really good Buddhist friends. They don't even like to kill mosquito. They don't want to kill even insects and small, creatures. They pray for all those creatures. They pray for, peace and love and for all creations. Even I'm a Christian, but they still pray for me in that, included in that kind of prayer for peace and prayer for blessing. So you cannot imagine how those people who to say that they follow Buddhism will come to the point where they kill several of their most reverent people among the Buddhism. So it's that is where we realize that these military generals are not Buddhism, but they have got the kind of a project to build a pagoda, and they build one of the biggest pagoda, and then they make the people. That's a kind of like, that's the way how they deceive people. One side they kill the monk, another side they build a pagoda. So it is like, there's no reason to build pagoda when you are still killing your own monk. So that's the real face of the terror that we are facing.
So how are Christians operating under this kind of oppression?
all we have is our faith and our belief. We don't have the material, we don't have weapons, we don't have the resources to counter these darknesses, but it's our hope, it's our belief, it's our future. And then it's our faith that is taking us from one step at a time to another step. Because we believe in freedom, we believe in love, we believe in the love of God, and we believe that still God love these people still. God love these people, and then we believe that in the moment like this, it's even more important that we show the light of love to across nations. And the question that we ask ourselves many times is, if we don't show love, who will? Because God is love in that sense. The Bible told us clearly that God is love. And all the things that we saw in Jesus is the passion of love, that the compassion. And then what we know is Jesus told us also that we are the light to the world. We are the salt to the earth. So what is the light to us into this darkness world is the light of hope, the light of justice, the light of freedom, the light of love, the light of caring, the light of be a voice for the voiceless, the light of hope where there's no hope. Um, you know, the light of help in the helplessness situation. So that is all we have as Christians, as a believer, that this battle that we are fighting is not belongs to us, it belongs to God Himself, because God is the maker of the world, and He holds the whole world in His hand, because He's the one who make it. And then we believe that in His time, the people of Burma will be free from injustice, and the people of Burma will be free from this terror, reign of terror. And we believe that prayer is one of the most powerful weapons that we have. And what I know is also many of our dear brothers and sisters in Christ are praying day. And many of my friends, I know they do fasting prayer. And without that, there's just no hope. And I still believe that we will rise up from this darkness, and we will build the beauty of Burma from the acts of these destructions. And as the Bible told us many times about rebuilding of Jerusalem, rebuilding of the temple, rebuilding means that rebuilding of the life of the people of Burma, rebuilding of all those that have been destroyed, and a rebuilding of the nation, the country, and a rebuilding of peace, a rebuilding of prosperity, rebuilding of the freedom. And so I think those are where we get the strength from. And then that's where even me, practically every day, I tend to read Bible every morning, every evening, and at least maybe 2 hours of 24 hours spent in reading the Bible and praying and seeking for wisdom as one of the leader in this darkest moment in my country history. I believe that praying and reading the Bible and seeking the wisdom as strength and directions from God is that keep me going. Without that, I could have died, I could have collapsed, I could have not survived. And so I'm thankful that I'm still here.
Oh, that's really powerful. Can you talk a bit about the peace talks that have been happening this year and in the past couple months?
Well, peace is something that the people of Burma need the most, but it is something that the people of Burma do not have. Um, peace talk is not just a kind of a peace that we are saying is not like something that new. Peace talk has been there for so many years under the military regime. There has been so many peace talk. But again, there are the enemy of peace who do not want peace happen among the people of Burma, who do not want the peace, and we are facing the enemy of peace. So it's very difficult to talk peace when there are enemy of peace. And again, it's a very painful and complicated journey. Um, it's just not even a peace. It's just earthquake happened, and the military, you know, they also lost some of their buildings, and we know that they all lost. Many of them have lost their men and their women uniform as well, and they don't want to talk about it. But what we peace-loving people, the people of Burma love peace, and we are peace-loving people, but not the military. So that's totally different story. Um, so we as a people's representative declare humanitarian ceasefire because we really want the medicine to go to the people, food to go to the people, rescue and search operation from some generous country around the world to be able to do their job. And we declare humanitarian ceasefire. And followed by the other key stakeholders in the country declare bilateral ceasefire, unilateral ceasefire. And then even the military declare ceasefire, but they break their own ceasefire by airstrike, campaign for airstrike, as I described earlier. Even today, they kill a pastor and whole his family because the jet fighter dropped the bomb in the church in my state where I came from, and they killed the whole family and the pastor. And then in Kachin state, which was a Christian state, they killed to this day again 20 people, including several children and women, when they drop airstrike above to the villages, Christian villages in Kachin state. And today is Christian village in Chin state. And then Midat and Didim. And that's where, but what I'm saying is, yeah, these people, we have the story that some of the villages Christians, they use the remains of the bomb shell that killed them, their family members, use the remains of the bomb shell as the church bell ringing. And I saw there was a choirs of the young people who just sing Hallelujah where there's no roof of the church, standing up, singing Hallelujah. And I think those Christians, those believers, understand that the devil that we are facing want you to be afraid. They want you to be afraid of them, and they want you to stop you praising God. They want you to stop you, reading the Bible. They want to stop you having that faith and that having that hope in our Lord with Jesus. And then, but these people say, no to those hopelessness. So what I'm saying is, peace-loving people, even though the military hate peace, they don't want peace, but the people are peace-loving. So this kind of humanitarian ceasefire, we really hope and pray that will lead us into peace, right? Because that is what even I think even these military leaders, their children, they all have a children, a wife, and families. And I'm sure if those families and those those wives and that they have, if they see this hope that these people are having, I think, and the destructions that have caused by their husband, who's military general, I think they will cry. I think they will cry. It's just that these many of them are kind of brainwashed by their own military officers. And then, so it's difficult to, to show how peace will work in this kind of situation. But I believe that this humanitarian pause or humanitarian ceasefire will lead us into greater like conflict transformations. And then we will not stop talking about love. We will not stop talking about peace. We will not stop talking about hoping for peace to come to our land. We will not stop talking about praying to God for peace. And because God is love and God is peace, and Buddhism itself is a peaceful religion. So that means that the ground is being laid out for peace in my country. And then I think that the more we pray and the more we do what we can do in our own power, as it is the kingdom of peace to come, the kingdom of love to come, the kingdom of hope to come, the kingdom of freedom to come to Burma again, which we have lost. And those are the things that we are cry out every day. And we do pray and hope that our dear brothers and sisters around the world will pray with us so that peace, the kingdom of peace, come to Burma. And the kingdom of hope come to Burma sooner than later. The kingdom of freedom come to Burma sooner than later. So if we all join in the chorus of prayer, I'm sure that that is where the dawn of peace will come, because I think this darkness of violence, afraid of the light of peace. And when the light of peace comes, there will be no darkness. Darkness will have no place to hide anymore. So that's where we believers are very crucial in this moment in my country.
Yeah. Can you explain a little bit about who the groups at the negotiating table are who are trying to broker this ceasefire?
It is, as I said, is kind of unilateral ceasefire. Not, it's like every parties that is a parties to conflict declare ceasefire unilaterally, and then now we have to think it has to be almost like multilateral ceasefire, and there has to be kind of time and condition that is so that limited across the country as ceasefire. If we really want peace to breathe on the ground in Burma, um, unilaterally declaring of humanitarian. That has to happen, and I think that international communities are crucially important, like UN Security Council or like ASEAN and other, to really give more pressure to the military who is instigating violence across the country, and if they stop air attack against their own people, if they stop killing their own people, if they stop this violence, everything will stop, right? So that means that the root cause of the problem is not the people of Burma. The root cause of the violence are the military themselves. So that means that more pressure is needed to be exerted on the military generals, particularly by pressuring them with financial sanctions, you know, weapons, kind of weapons supplied to them, kind of political legitimacy recognitions to. So I think that will make for them to much more harder to instigate more violence against their own people. So it's not only depend on the stakeholders on the ground, but it's much more also depend on international stakeholders and regional stakeholders to realize that China also needs stability, India also needs stability, ASEAN also needs stability. Otherwise, these humanitarian crises can spill over international border, and then drugs crisis and human trafficking crisis, and all those is a part of this crisis. And we are hearing a lot of online scam, which is like they are stealing a lot of billions of dollars from citizens of not only China or other, but even America citizens, because that's the black market that they found in this part of the world under this military dictatorship. So if we cannot stop this violence of the military, then if there's no peace, I mean there's no stability. So means that we are allowing the breeding ground for drugs, human trafficking, drugs trafficking, cyber crimes, and all kind of criminal elements will take more and more roots in the violent situation where there's no more rule of law. And then, so it's difficult circumstances, but we desperately need international community to come up with coordinated plan, coordinated response to this crisis in Burma, and so that the peace can start breathing on the ground.
You mentioned several key points there. You mentioned China's role. You mentioned the need for the UN Security Council and for ASEAN to step in. Are there other actions that you would recommend the international community consider urgently to help make this ceasefire a reality?
I mean, internationally, like US, there's a law called Burma Act, which is a bipartisan act in United States of America, and we desperately need the Burma Act to be fully implemented on the ground in Burma, and that we need more of the leaderships of a free world. We don't have the international leadership on Burma. We need coordinated and targeted international plan in Burma, and meaning that more of U.S. leaderships getting less or decrease, or international leaderships decrease, reduce in Burma. You will see China influence grow or Russia influence increase, and the activities of China and activities of Russia and other also, of course, will increase automatically when there is no other country international leaderships, like kind of vacuum of that leaderships, and vacuum of that free world leadership, vacuum of absence of international leadership is really, really bad for Burma and for Indo-Pacific and for Indian Ocean, and where there is a global supply chain is so much dependent on Indian Oceans, Indo-Pacific, and is all are under almost like threat if we are continuously allowing these criminal elements to be multiply over time without check. So there's no check and balance there. So that's very concerning, and so we are really hoping to pray that U.S. leaderships and maybe European unions or UK and other Europeans and Japan or South Korea or other is a key country, and of course, together with China and India, we really need that kind of coordinated international leadership, and then coming together to you know to solve this problem, this crisis. This is not only just Burma crisis now; it became international crisis. As you know, drugs has no border, and cybercrime has no border, and they operate without border. As you know, internet has no much border, and human trafficking, drugs trafficking, and all these criminal elements, name it. You know, the drugs that is reaching America maybe is the drugs that from that part of the world originated, right? I mean, cybercrime the same way. So we really need international leadership stand up. Yeah, of course, UN Security Councils and ASEAN leadership. It has to be not just only ASEAN because they are not in a position to be able to implement it. Even their own 5-point plans is a fail for Burma. So we need ASEAN plus China, ASEAN plus India, plus US, plus EU, UN. So there has to be this level of coordinated effort and come up with a plan. And there has to be one side international coordinated plan, strategic plan, and then nationally, like us, united plan of Burma, that that domestic plan and that international plan have to meet somewhere together and coordinate in between, and that way we can overcome these crises, some man-made crisis and nature disaster crisis. If we cannot work together in that manner, it's beyond of what Burma can do alone. It's beyond of what um, one country can do alone now. And then at the end of the day, it's bad for China, it's bad for India, bad for everybody. And we don't want to be that country that's bad for everybody. We want to be a country that is good for every country, everybody, our neighbor. And then, make this world a better place. And it is possible because we are just the gateway to Indian Ocean. We are the gateway to Indo-Pacific, and then that means that we also are neighbor with half of the world population, China, India, and it is strategic. It has to be a force of blessing for the whole world because, geographically, strategically located, and Burma was known as the food bank of Asia continent, the rice bowl of Asia, and we are the one who produce the most all the food for Asia continents. And now look at us, we are becoming, one of the most poorest country on earth, and we are indeed one of the most prosperous country once upon, a few decades ago. And even Singapore came to Burma and say, we would like to be like Burma. But now look at Singapore and look at Burma. You can see like the difference. And if we continue like this, Burma will become like one of North Korea. It will become like another North Korea kind of pariah state of country, and the world on Asian continent cannot afford two North Korea pariah state type of things in our continent. It's bad for the whole world. It's bad for China, bad for everybody. And so I hope and pray that you know the world leaders will recognize how important is stability in Burma, is stability for China and India and Indo-Pacific and Indian Oceans at large around the world. So I really hope and pray that international community will realize the needs for Burma to become stable country, a prosperous country again, and worthy country again, so that we can really balance their power in Burma and then balance the economic and the social politics or economic and security of the world as I talk about criminal elements. if we can eliminate all those criminal elements of Burma, automatically they'll impact global security on drugs or trafficking or cyber crime. So I mean that's where we need to address of the root cause of the problem. So the root cause of the problem is in Burma. So that means that if we address that, it's a better world, better region, better neighbors, more prosperous, more strong, and more wealthy, more prosperous. It's a coming, it's our future. So that's what we are showing to international community that if we can address and overcome the social crisis in Burma, which is a man-made crisis, it will contribute an impact to stronger global community, to be a better, global community, and to be most prosperous around the world. So it's so important that the gateway of this continent is, stabilizing forces for the rest of the regions and the rest of the world.
That is such a compelling picture of the possible future, and something to strive towards. A particular note on persecution that we haven't focused on yet is the concerns about the Rohingya population and how there have been concerns about genocide for more than 8 years now. Could you talk about the current status for the Rohingya people in Myanmar?
Again, this is one of the genocidal agenda of the military regime in Burma. Long before they target Rohingya group, they target us like a chain, careening chains, and the moon and the chant, and then no one is safe in Burma, particularly under this reign of terror of the military, but especially Rohingya were targeted 8 years ago, and it was genocidal attack, and American government determined as that is act of genocide against Rohingya people. If you think about that picture of hundreds of thousands of people exodus crossing that sea and that vast water, and many people be killed and raped and tortured. This weapon of rape, this weapon of torture, weapon of killing, weapon of burning the houses of the ordinary villagers, Burma become the place of rape, right, under the military. Burma become the place of torture, the place of persecution, place of killing field. It became killing fields in many of those villages that we're talking about. And so they are not only just denied of the right to movement, they are denied of even the right to have identity cards. They are denied of their existence as human beings, right? And they denied of their, they are effectively systematically making them to be stateless, meaning you belong to no one. You have no any evidence that you are there. And then that was premeditated, calculated attack against the Rohingya populations because of they are Muslim and they are minority. And then again, these weapons of fear that they want to instigate, that particularly happened during NLD government. So meaning that there was brief period of time that even though NLD government do not control the border affair or home affair or military defense ministry, or the key ministry in the government. Imagine you have a government, but most important cabinet role are be taken by the military by constitution, that there are already, you cannot be civilian and be also Minister of Home Affairs. You cannot be civilian and be also Minister of Defense. You cannot be Vice President of the country, Vice President one, and civilian. So all those the seats are reserved by the military generals for them, by them, not by the people of Burma for the people of Burma, but by the military for the military. So those are the ones who go after Rohingya populations. And that means that they are using that also to destabilize kind of semi-civilian governments of NLD in 2017. It's all calculated. So it's a power, they're power hungry. That if they destabilize civilian, semi-civilian governments, and that they think that they can topple the civilian government by killing Rohingya populations. Long time also they still have that policy of persecution, right? There's a clear policy. It is not just random things coming to after them. It's a policy of persecution against minority religions, minority people of Burma. And then that means now we have more than 1 million Rohingya in Bangladesh in a very, very extreme situation. And international assistance towards Rohingya populations are getting less and less every day as we speak. And then, it is just again inhuman. It's brutality, this cruelty, or this inhuman treatment of Rohingya people. There's just no way to describe the situation they are living in. It just is, you can just take it's hell. It's hell that our people are living through under these military dictatorships. And even sanitation, hygiene, education, stuff, it just all the basic thing, all the dignity, they just destroy all the dignity as a human being. And then we really hope and pray that the future of the new Burma that we are looking for is the future not only for the majority of people, it is the future where everybody, future for all, regardless of who you are Christians or Muslims or Buddhists or atheists. Our future belongs to everyone, regardless of their culture, regardless of their ethnicities, regardless of their background. So the future is the future of inclusive, peaceful, federal, democratic future of Burma. That's the future that we are going. That's the future that we are leading. And we hope and pray that our dear brothers and sisters in Christ will join us in support of that future that awaits us. The future is also the future for our Rohingya brothers and sisters. And we are going to build a new Burma, a new country, a new future that the military do not want us to have. But the people together will not give up, we will not surrender, we will not stop until we arrive to the future that awaits all of us.
Dr. Sasa, thank you so much for your voice and your leadership, and for sharing with us both the devastation from the earthquake and from the military regime and attacks, and also this picture of hope of what is the possible vision for Myanmar in the future. And thank you so much for the time to speak today. And with Christian Solidarity International, we ask our supporters to pray. Is there any particular thing that you would ask for as key for prayer right now?
As we speak, we are talking about more than 30 million people in Burma that need life-saving assistance right now. We are talking about more than 300,000 structures, including homes, schools, church, hospitals, all be destroyed. And we are talking about more than 27,000 civilians being unjustly detained for the last 4 years. We are talking about more than 10,000 plus civilians being killed with the conflicts of the military violence, and also from this earthquake alone is passing somewhere 4,000 already in the last 2 weeks. We are talking about several thousands still missing. We are talking about where there's no medicine, no shuttles. We are talking about where there's no food, and the military are weaponizing all this international aid and politicizing it, and they are using still four-card policy. That means the God of food supply to these people, God of medical supply, God of communications to these people, and God of all those lifeline to these people. But still, the hope of the people of Burma is real, and they have the hope for tomorrow, and we have hope for tomorrow, and we believe in the future, and we believe that the future belongs to the people of Burma, not to the military. We believe that the future belongs to freedom. The freedom belongs to our future, and then love belongs to our future. Peace belongs to our future, and above all, we want to have everyone in Burma feel the love of God. We want to make clear that everybody realize and need for that love of God. And I believe that personally, one day my people will know how much God loved them, right? And how much God love all of us. God do not want us to kill each other. I'm sure it's just God want us to. I believe God is crying with us. Actually, I believe personally that God cry with me every night, every day, and every morning I wake up, I pray, and I sense that God also is crying with me. And I hope that through your network, our dear brothers and sisters around the world will join their hand to support Burma and to support the people of Burma, and that the dawn of freedom, the dawn of federal democracy will come sooner than later. And I just like to say to all of you who have been praying, please keep praying for us, and please remember us in your thoughts and prayer. And it's 24 hours a day. There is 60 minutes in 1 hour. I'm asking maybe just 3 minutes of your 1 hour of 24 hours a day. Just 3 minutes. Just 3 minutes to pray for Burma. 3 minutes to pray for Burma. I think that would change the whole country and nation for peace, for freedom, for hope. And I hope that that day will come sooner.
Yeah, that's such an important call for all of us. Thank you, Dr. Sasa. We really appreciate you.
Thank you very much indeed for having me, Abby. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.